Buongiorno, this is Jonathan. How you guys doing? Today the topic is about doubling your guitar. Back in the days when I was listening to a whole lot of records, when I was following the studio cats, I'm not really buying the albums by the artists, but buying the albums that were played by my favorite studio musicians. And there's this particular guy called Jay Graydon. His guitar sound is very different from the rest of them, and I found it to be really thick, and it's not just about the guitars or the amps he's playing. It's just something about it. I had a surplus of delay pedals back then when I was playing live. I had like 2 or 3 delay pedals. So I decided to experiment with the delays. I knew it was something to do with delays, but I just didn't know what was it. And voila, I found out about it. It was just a very close delay time, probably about 20 to 30 milliseconds. And that would more or less have a sort of a slapback effect, but not as like a rock and roll sort of sound, the slapback that you mostly hear in rock and roll songs. This is a really tight, 30 seconds is really short, and it gives you a doubling effect. And that's when I found out, wow, okay, that's how it was. So I started using it live because it was just a mono setup with me and my amp, and I would kick in this this delay unit for the doubling effect every now and then for more of a of a bigger sound during solos. It was after many years later, when I was in the recording studio, when I was doing a whole lot of recording, that I was asked to double track my guitars, and it was fun, double tracking your rhythm guitars or your mostly distortion guitars. And sometimes I would be called to do doubling of my solos, which is a chore because sometimes you forget what you play, and you gotta play exactly the same nuances, the same notes, as you did on your first take. So that was a bit of a chore, but it was interesting. It was after I started recording at home that I found out that I could actually have an easier time doing doubling. All I need to do was to record a track, let's say track A, and I'll cut and copy the same track over to track B. Now I have two similar tracks. On track B, I will shift the timing a little bit off, just a little bit off, a couple of milliseconds off. And then I will listen and hear and listen how much do I want it to be far off. And I'll pan track A to the left, track B to the right. And voila, I got stereo guitars, which will fill up this whole space. Which is not the same as double tracking it, because when you double track it, you can tell that it's a live player playing. In this case, it gives you the effect of a doubling guitar, you know, and it works for most cases. For solos, I would do almost the same thing. In my digital audio workstation, I would record on track A, copy and paste into track B, similar, right? And I'll shift a little bit according to my taste and my preference, couple of milliseconds forward, and then I will kind of pan it this way, probably about 9 to 3 o'clock. And if I want it to be tighter, I would just do it tighter. So these days, when I record, I'll use the Helix, and I use like the bi-amp setup, twin amp setup. I would use say a Marshall JCM 800 on one side and a Bogner on another side, or a Fender Twin River on another side, and I would just play with this, and it's pan hard left and hard right, and you get that doubling effect, coupled with the delays that that you patch it through. I have seldom use of a doubler effect right now these days, except for a solo mono sound. Like for example, I have a clean sound which would just use a single amp, like for example a twin reverb, like the sound that you heard in the song that I played just now, the clean sound. So in that scenario, I would apply a doubler effect where I can actually pan it left and right, so there's a slight drift in time, like a couple of milliseconds, 3 milliseconds, 3 milliseconds, so you can hear the stereo effect, and it's an interesting effect. These days, you have pedals that are dedicated to the doubling effect. One of it is from TC Electronics called the MIMIQ Doubler pedal, and the other one is from Keeley, the brand Keeley, called Double Tracker. Mind you, these effects pedals, this doubling effect, would be best suited for stereo setup, either in recording or in stage setup. I believe you can still use it in mono, but results would be different from the stereo setup. So I hope you like this video, and I hope you try it in one of your recordings, double tracking, or doing the trick that I taught you about, copy and paste and then shifting the time a little bit. It's really interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, give me a thumbs up and ring that bell for any new videos that comes out in the future. I've been pretty busy lately, so I'll try to come out as much video as I can during my downtime. So in the meantime, you guys take care. Ciao.